the effect I'm about to show you isn't easy to achieve, especially if you're just starting out with resin. It requires a bit of experience because resin colors tend to mix together very quickly. If you're not careful, the beautiful, distinct patterns you aim for can blend into a single color. That's why I created a special divider, which allows me to control how the colors are applied. The divider is made from 3mm transparent plexiglass and is placed inside the mold. However, I don't glue the divider down because I'll need to remove it later. Instead, I build the mold around the divider to secure the structure and make sure the resin doesn't leak. If you want to know how to make a mold like this, you can check out the tutorial in the top corner or find the link in the video description below. In these cups, I have about 900 grams of epoxy resin, and I've divided it into several portions, each mixed with a different color pigment. I make sure to thoroughly mix each color so the pigment is evenly distributed throughout the resin. Now, I carefully pour each color into the mold, being mindful not to let them mix immediately. The key here is to pour slowly and patiently. Resin has a natural tendency to flow and blend, and if I remove the divider too early, the colors would merge right away. I'd probably end up with one big, blended color, which is not the effect I'm going for here. So, I wait around 45 minutes until the resin starts to set a little before I slowly remove the divider. This step requires patience. You want to make sure the resin is firm enough so that when the divider is removed, the colors maintain their separation. Once the divider is out, I begin gently swirling the colors with a stick. This part is crucial because if you mix too quickly or too much, you'll lose the beautiful marbled effect and end up with just one color. My goal is to create a soft, flowing pattern, so I use slow, careful movements. Remember, patience is key here. Rushing will ruin the effect. After about 24 hours, the resin has hardened completely, and I can safely remove the piece from the mold. Before doing anything else, I sand both sides to ensure the surface is smooth and even. This makes the next steps much easier. After that, I mark and drill a small hole in the center. This hole is essential for creating a perfect circular cut on the bandsaw, which will give the clock its final shape. I've received a lot of questions from people asking where I get the templates for my clocks, especially for the numbers. So, let me show you. I actually create my own templates. First, I design the numbers on the computer and then cut them out using a laser. I use a thicker type of paper for the template, which allows me to mark the exact spots where the numbers will go on the clock face. The white numbers you see on this clock are made from 2mm thick white plexiglass, which I also cut with a laser. The template helps ensure that the numbers are aligned correctly on the clock. I always make the numbers slightly smaller than the cutouts in the template so they can be easily placed without getting stuck. Now, I attach the numbers using fast-drying glue, making sure to place them precisely where they belong, according to the template. This step is crucial for giving the clock a clean, professional finish. Templates really help in maintaining precision, especially when you're working with complex designs. Next, I tape the edge of the clock with painter's tape, pressing it down firmly to make sure there are no gaps. This prevents resin from leaking out when I pour the final layer. In this case, I'll be pouring about 300 grams of epoxy resin to cover the entire surface, including the numbers. Once the resin is poured, I carefully sand the clock again to ensure a smooth surface. Then, I use a handheld router to round the edges of the clock, both on the front and the back. Rounding the edges helps the resin flow evenly over the entire surface, creating a seamless, polished look. Before pouring the final layer of resin, I place the mixture in a vacuum chamber to remove any air bubbles. This step is important because bubbles trapped in the resin can create imperfections on the surface. After that, I pour the resin slowly over the clock, using a gloved hand to spread it evenly across the entire piece. I take extra care to make sure the edges and corners are well covered because these areas are easy to miss. After waiting another 24 hours for the resin to harden, I sand the back of the clock to remove any drips or excess resin that may have formed. I start with 80 grit sandpaper and gradually work my way up to 400 grit for a smooth finish. At this point, I drill an 8mm hole in the center, where the clock mechanism will go. I then carefully position the mechanism on the back of the clock. To ensure the mechanism is placed perfectly, I use a double-sided tape to attach the template in the exact spot. With the template in place, I use a handheld router to create a space for the mechanism. If you're interested in seeing how to do this step in more detail, check out the link to a previous video, which you'll find either in the top corner or in the description below. Finally, I attach my logo to the back of the clock. This is something I always do with my handmade products, so customers know that they're getting a genuine, handmade clock from me. It's a little touch that I think adds a lot of value to the finished piece. Now, the last step is to install the clock mechanism and set the hands to the correct time. And there you have it, the finished clock. The colors have mixed beautifully, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. What do you think about this project? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.